Good evening. We're going to call to order our public hearing. It's regarding rezoning of Hamilton County Auditor's parcel located on E-Business Way from general business to public facility. And John Creech is going to take over.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council. This ordinance 2022-10, it's a recommendation of the Planning Commission by way of Planning Commission Resolution 22-01. It's to rezone a portion of Hamilton County parcel number 60800330055. It's located on the north side of E-Business Way, just off Kemper Road. The request is to rezone that property, a portion of that property, from general business to public facilities. The rezoning request was submitted by Mr. Andy Ziegenfuss of All Church, and if it is approved by City Council, it is their intent to construct a church on the portion of the rezoned portion of that property. So here's just a map that gives you a little overview of that area. It's the last vacant parcel in the Summit Woods development area. It's about overall, it's outlined there in yellow. The overall parcel is 12.2 acres. They are purchasing the entire parcel and propose to rezone 7.1 acres for their church use, and then the remaining 5.1 acres that fronts E-Business Way, that'll be maintain the current GB zoning for future development. This is just a conceptual development plan that was discussed at the Planning Commission, just for informational purposes only. If the rezoning is approved, they would go back to the Planning Commission for site plan review and approval upon rezoning of the property. We mailed notices to all abutting neighbors of this evening's meeting, public hearing. And the Planning Commission held a hearing, took comments, and reviewed and considered the rezoning request, and it's their recommendation that City Council approve the rezoning request for this property. The applicants are here if you have any questions.
Would you like to just introduce them to council so we know who's welcoming to our neighborhood? Hi. Thank you. Are there any other questions or anyone in the audience here for this? Is that all you have, John? Okay, we'll close this hearing then. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to call to order our regular council meeting. If everyone would please stand, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer, and then Mr. Wilson is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. You can all be seated now, please. Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Coulter?
Here.
Mr. Lovett?
And Chief Rob Proud. My fault for not stand over here. Let's do pictures now. We'll do this. Go on over on that side, Chief. Come on in here. We'll get an official picture here, and then we'll get all the group involved. All right, here we go. Looking that way. Here we go.
No, over there. Oh, Mom's way more important.
That's
Sorry,
right.
Mom.
All right, now look at Mr. Cook. All right, thank you, sir. We'll let you walk the line here in a minute once we get everybody, all three of you done. How's that? All right. Dan, come on down, sir. You're the next contestant on swearing in fire officers tonight. All right, this would be Dan Runyon. Dan is our newest lieutenant of the Sharonville Fire Department, homegrown here in the city of Sharonville. Woo! Nobody, all right. He graduated from Princeton High School in 1993. Woo! All right. That's me, that's great. Dan has enjoyed growing up as well as raising his family in Sharonville. Any cows you're growing with?
No cows.
No cows, that's all right. Prior to serving the community, he spent 13 years as a UPS driver. He began serving the community in 2006 and became a paramedic in 2007. Throughout the past 16 years, he has attended many classes and trainings to master his craft. And in 2021, Dan received a degree in fire service leadership from Cincinnati State. He has special interest in tactical paramedicine and drone implementation into the fire service. And he'd like to thank his family for the support and tolerance throughout the years. And they're kind of taking up half the room, if I'm not mistaken. But
This side,
Dan,
yeah.
go ahead and introduce everybody for us.
First, I have my parents, Ken and Kathy Runyon, my brother and his wife, and then the rest of my family, the daughters. I have Olivia with her husband Kyle, Sadie, who she's holding, and he's holding Colton. Mia's next, Isabella, and then my wife Julie.
Great family, great people, great addition. It's not an addition, you're already here, but great promotion. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dan Runyon,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio
the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
and the city of Sharonville,
and the city of Sharonville,
and that I will honestly and faithfully
and will honestly and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
of lieutenant,
of lieutenant,
to which I have been appointed
which I have been appointed
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Dan. There you go. You were nice, right? Yeah, you made dinner tonight or something? Something. Thanks, sir. All right. Vinny, come on down. Here's our new addition, sort of, kind of. Good evening, sir. How are you? You've never been through this before. They have.
Nope,
so
I have not.
this is the real hazing that you go through. You thought it was bad, didn't you?
We'll see.
So this is Vinny Hailmeyer, or Vincent Hailmeyer. I got that right, right?
Yep,
I had to ask. I thought about 5 different ways of saying the last name, but
No, you're
Hailmeyer
good.
works. All right. So Vinny comes to the Sharonville Fire Department with 5 previous years of fire and EMS experience earned at Colerain Township. In 2016, while earning his paramedic certification, he also earned an associate's degree in emergency medical services from the University of Cincinnati, and he hopes to continue his education and earn his bachelor's degree in 3 years. Vinny's a certified firefighter, paramedic, fire apparatus operator, ice rescue and swift water rescue technician. His passion is ladder truck operations, which will be highly beneficial to our department. He enjoys spending most of his free time outside with his friends and family, with yearly trips to Gatlinburg, and Vinny's now my most favorite firefighter in the entire Sharonville Fire Department, Disney World. So, all right. It's the happiest place on earth, right, Mr. Cook? There you go. All right. Anybody here for you tonight?
No one here, just everyone from the fire department.
Everyone from the fire department. All right. Well, they're here to cheer you on. They're very happy, I know, to have you part of our ranks. So if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Vinny Hailmeyer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio
and the City of Sharonville,
and the City of Sharonville,
and that I will honestly and faithfully
and that I will honestly and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of firefighter paramedic,
of the office of firefighter paramedic,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Look right ahead. We don't have any Mickey Mouse here, but if you've been to Disney World, you know how to do this, so good. All right.
You'll have to honor your mayor.
And Jason, come on back down here. Yeah, we can borrow my mayor here. All right. Mayor, I think you should be kind. Well, come here, climb up. Shake down over there. We'll get one picture with all three of them in here first, then we'll make them shake hands while we all eat. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, now what you do is go over there and make your way down the line, because all these people behind me want to say congratulations.
You're gonna take a brief moment and have some.
Hi, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. And families, if you want to get more pictures while we're taking this break, now's the time to do it. Make Dave Cook take your picture, whatever you want.
It's been a lot more difficult, but yes, I enjoy it. He can make his way back around, Mama.
We're going to go ahead and get started with the meeting. We're going to take things out of order just a little bit, and I'm going to invite Chief Sunderman up to do his annual report for us. So, Chief Sunderman, the floor is yours.
Now, who left me this nice post-it note telling me exactly what we're going to do? Is this an eye exam?
That's terrible.
If you guys can have seats, it's okay. I know you support the chief and all. We're not gonna rush him, I
I
promise.
told them no heckling. So we'll give it a shot. Well, we started the evening with showing off a fire truck outside, and we swore in a whole bunch of people. So we haven't had too much of the fire department yet. We'll get through our annual report here. So, good evening again, everybody, and thank you to the elected for having us tonight. This year on the annual report, I really did kind of focus in on the people of the Sharonville Fire Department. So the men and women behind me, they do all the hard work, so we're really going to focus in on that. And just a quick little bit of background, I spent many years teaching, some at Butler Tech and some at Cincinnati State, the PMT and paramedic program. And I was always known as the instructor that didn't read slides to the students. The good news is I'm not going to read slides to them. So hopefully that'll keep this a little bit more lively. I do just want to let you all know I'm very honored to stand here as the fire chief for my first time giving the annual report to council. And specifically, I'm honored to represent the men and women standing behind me that do all the hard work. As you know, in 2021, with the retirement of Chief John Mackey, it did create somewhat of a leadership void in our department for a time. Chief Mackey is here somewhere, I do believe. Chief Mackey is here. Thank you, Chief Mackey, for your many, many years of service. And without you sitting there, I would not be standing here. Really appreciate that. So when I took over command of the fire department, one of my goals that I've been working on along with the other battalion chiefs and the lieutenants is that we really do build a full team of bosses, a full team of leaders, so that we don't ever suffer that leadership void again, that we're all learning all aspects of everybody else's job. And that's kind of the premise that we've been working on here so far started in 2021 and working on here in 2022. This is just a very quick rundown of the personnel that we have at the fire department. This looks familiar to most of you, I'm sure. The one thing I just want to pay a little bit of attention to is a couple years ago we started EMS only positions, and out of that we do have 10 part-time paramedics and 1 part-time EMT. And these folks are not cross-trained in fire. They're strictly trained in EMS, so they do help us fill that void on the medic units, and you'll see here in just a little bit that is the majority of what we do are EMS runs. And just a chart of the organization and what the organization looks like. We do have 3 shifts and a battalion chief on every shift, and then 3 lieutenants on every shift, 1 at each station. We do have a 4th battalion chief. Chief Burns is our administrative battalion chief, really keeps things moving up in the front office. And then obviously we still have a fire inspector, and we'll talk about the good Keith Becker here in just a few minutes. And that rain nurse position does remain open, and I'll continue to work with administration and talk about the kind of the best way to fill that going forward. So with that, let's talk about some of our people. I think we've heard enough about Vincent already. That's about right. I think we know now. I did not know from his bio that he was like to go to the greatest place on earth. So now I know that about Vincent. So we are, in fact, very glad and very lucky to have him on board. He does bring some experience to us. Erica Marion, one of our other full-timers, was sworn in, about 6 or 8 months ago. You did get to see Erica, and the thing I'd like to point out about Erica is her background before the fire service was in nutrition and physical training, so she does try to keep us all healthy. We don't always listen to her, but darn it, she keeps trying nonetheless, so we really appreciate that. Our promotions tonight, I think we've heard enough about these two as well, right? So I did find out at our break that the reason that the good Battalion Chief Robertson was almost late is because they birthed twin cows this morning at their home. So
Oh, wow.
I thought that was fairly exciting. So I don't know, apparently that'll make for a long day, is what I hear from him. So. 2 other promotions earlier this year. Tony Smith was promoted to lieutenant, and Chris Ellis was promoted to battalion chief. And they both worked together on the same unit day. They've created a very good team. And I'd also like to point out that they are both instructors at Scarlet Oaks, and they both teach fire school. So that really does, not only help some of the young kids get into the fire service, and the fire department, like every other business in the country, is hurting for employees. Really helps some of the young kids get into the fire service, and it actually helps us quite a bit with recruiting young firefighters. So appreciate both of them doing that. We do have several new part-time members. Jacob Benkin is very new to us. He's very new to the fire service. He's been with us actually just a couple shifts, still orienting. And Jacob is one of several new part-time employees that makes me feel old. And I'm going to say wise, not old. Makes me feel very wise in my years. I used to work with his Uncle Jim about 30 years and about 45 pounds ago. So I'm glad to see him in the fire service now. Tony Giesner started with us as a medic only, was one that was the EMS only, and he's going through fire school, trying to get his fire too, and does hope to be employed full-time someday. He's a very good medic, and he has some military background as well. Brad Long is back with us part-time. He worked part-time with us for several years and then was hired full-time at Blue Ash. And once his probationary period was up at Blue Ash, he was allowed to work part-time again, so he did come back to us part-time. And very lucky to have Brad on board with us again. Jacob Schock is another one who makes me realize how wise I am with very many years under my belt. His first day, he said, "I think you used to work with my mom." Sure enough, I did 25 years ago at Liberty Township. So glad to see that Jacob is following in Mom's footsteps in the fire service. I know, Tank. I know. So Dylan Smith, who was with us tonight, well, let's just say that he attended the University of Cincinnati, and I'm a Xavier man. So we hired him nonetheless, so it's all right. Ian Torek, again, medic only with us, and he too is working through fire school. So he's decided he wants to get into the fire business as well. Our last two here, Gabe Wakeman is with us tonight, and he too is new to the fire service. This is his first fire job, started it with us in October of 2020. He's picking things up pretty quickly, doing a pretty good job for us, and keeps learning. And Gabe spends his off-duty time working for a nonprofit, working with children's and art programs. So kind of an interesting background there. And Honor Workman is very, very new to the fire service. Again, she is orienting with us. Some of her first ever days in the firehouse have been with us. And she's out on the trucks and has her nose in her orientation manual every hour of every day. So she's really worked out well for us. So those are our new part-time members, and hopefully we'll keep them around for a little while. As I focus on the people of the Sharonville Fire Department, the other thing I wanted to focus on is we have a lot of members of the fire department that are on special teams, and I want to introduce you to those special teams and exactly what they do. Dan Runyon is part of the Hamilton County Police Association SWAT team. He works as a SWAT medic. He's been with that organization for 10 years, and in 2017 was promoted to an assistant team leader. which is a pretty big deal amongst that group, not having police background to make that promotion. So Dan certainly has been dedicated to the SWAT team there, and that absolutely helps the fire department, not only with some training, but when we do some planning, should we ever have incidents involving violence, that certainly does help us. Now we also have several members that are on the Hamilton County Urban Search and Rescue Team and the Ohio Task Force 1. These are both specialized rescue teams. One is a county asset, the other is a federal asset. That is the difference. This particular picture is, I believe, the Killian Power Plant. Oh, wow. Does that sound about right? So they've actually had a very busy year, and we'll talk about some of the events that they have attended this year. Lieutenant Thomas, who's with us here tonight, he has been with the Urban Search and Rescue the longest, since 2013 of the group. And in 2020, he was promoted to a SWAT officer in that group. And again, amongst these very, very highly trained individuals, that's a pretty big deal. So congratulations to Chris. The Hamilton County Task Force, or Urban Search and Rescue Team, through this past year, they responded to the Killian Power Plant collapse, the Dayton tornadoes, the 4th Street collapse in Cincinnati, and the Monroe Trench collapse. So that is a pretty busy year for that team. And then the federal team also had a fairly busy year responding to Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Delta, the Surfside apartment building collapse in Miami, Florida, and then the Mayfield, Dawson Springs tornadoes in Kentucky. So they've had a pretty busy year. Some of our other members, Lieutenant Scott Holland, also on the team, Lieutenant Ben Berg, who is here tonight, also on the team. Lieutenant Dan Runyon, I don't know what he does in his free time between all of the special teams, but he is also on the team. And Dan Steed, newer, has been on the team since 2020. So again, having these highly specialized rescuers on the Sharonville Fire Department that are going to these large-scale events really bring a lot back to the fire department, and they're able to help us train and help us prepare should we ever have any large-scale disasters here. So let's hope we don't need them, but they are certainly there if we do. The other group I want to call attention to is our fire investigation team, and there on the screen is Battalion Chief Ellis's real boss. That would be Sonnet. Sonnet's been with us how many years, Chris? How many years has Sonnet been with us? Year and a half? Been with us a year and a half. So that is the arson dog. Sonnet is actually an ATF agent, so can go just about anywhere. So you'll see that it was well outside of Hamilton County. Generally speaking, though, Chris does fire investigations in Hamilton County and obviously in Sharonville. As if Dan Runyon didn't have enough to do in his life, he is also a member of UAS 500. So that is a county asset that can bring drones out to fire scenes. And this asset has really built up in the county very nicely over the last couple of years. And most recently in Sharonville, they did help us find 3 missing children. They were able to get drones up in the air and find them pretty quickly. And they're also actually useful if we have a large-scale fire that we can see all sides above and fly around it. So that's been a huge asset for us. And again, being part of these special teams really help keep Sharonville involved in the county. So that's been very good for us. Now, here's where I have to blame myself for the hazmat incident that we had today in Sharonville. I was putting this together over the last couple of weeks here and put this up about the Greater Cincinnati Hazmat, and I had that fleeting thought of, man, we haven't had to use them in a very long time. So, ta-da, here they were today. They helped us out with the incident over at Reading and Sharon, which is, as I understand it, is now all cleaned up. So, but Battalion Chief Robertson is part of that organization. He's actually in charge of all of their foam-related responses. He's also part of the team. So it is nice to have a member of that team on the department. So whenever we have anything hazmat, I can just call him and let him take care of those things. I also, the mayor spoke briefly about the Ohio Fire Executive Program. Battalion Chief Robertson is involved in that, as is Lieutenant Nutley. So we have 2 people currently in the program, and the Lieutenant Castile just graduated in April of 2021. So that's pretty big for a department of our size to have 3 people that close together in that class. It's a 2.5-year commitment through the Ohio Fire Chiefs. They do a lot in terms of applied research. They learn budgeting. They learn some leadership, change initiatives, things like that. So I think that is a testament to the city of Sharonville that they're truly investing in their people, and a testament to these folks that they're, they are willing to make that 2.5-year commitment. So very good for all 3 of them. Talk about our fire prevention and code enforcement division. I'm sure you've all heard the name Keith Becker. Everybody knows the name Keith Becker. He is our lead inspector, just doing an outstanding job, works every single day to build very good relationships with our area businesses. And, you can see there they had just a little over 2,600 interactions with area businesses this year. Some of those are very simple routine inspections, and some of those are major reconstruction projects and everything in between. So they do a really, really nice job in that office. The next organization that we're involved, or I should say that we have involvement in through, again, Lieutenant Castile, is a program called Can You Take the Heat? This is a program geared towards females 12 and over, and they bring them to Scarlet Oaks once a year and basically run them through a very mini fire academy and see if they have any interest in the fire service. And, again, talk about our recruiting efforts and talk about trying to get people into the fire service. This is huge that, we have somebody who is reaching out to these young ladies and getting them interested in the fire service and taking them through the paces here. So this is where I'm hoping that City Council and immediate family can interact with us. We're working on doing a mini Can You Take the Heat for all of you folks at the fire department here in April. So details to come, and I guess we'll play the game of are you smarter and stronger than a 12-year-old? So hopefully we'll see a couple of you there, but we're working on that for April and details to come.
I may be with the Boy Scouts.
So that's just kind of an overview of all of our people at the fire department and what they do in their off time and their off-duty trainings and what they're doing out there. So, and I appreciate each and every one of them. Talk about run volume here. In 2021, our run volume increased by 31%. 54% of that was our fire run volume, so that's 40% overall. It's hard to say if we're going to sustain those numbers. That is a huge increase. That's a larger increase than we've had year over year in the past, and we're really just going to have to kind of wait and see what 2022 brings us. Our fire volume, EMS assists, were about 1,800 of those calls. So, and I always get the question of, well, why do you send a fire truck with an ambulance? Well, we do send a fire truck with an ambulance for a couple of reasons. One, we have a very sick patient and they need extra hands. 2, it could be a residence with a whole bunch of steps and somebody's up on the 2nd floor and they need help getting them down the steps. Or 3, the closest ambulance is simply out on another run, so we'll send a fire truck to fill that gap until we can get an ambulance from a further away station to that customer. So that is why you frequently see fire trucks on EMS runs. So just a breakdown, and you have this in your packet, of per station run volume. And I think the interesting part of this in 2021 was the increase in volume at Station 88. That's our Fields Earl station. Historically has been the slowest station, and still is, but has had a pretty substantial increase in 2021. And just off the top of my head, as we were running the reports, and actually Chief Peck was preparing these for me, I said, you know what? I said, run January of 22. I just feel like we broke an all-time record. It felt very, very busy in January. Now, the mayor tells me he doesn't like breaking these kind of records, but we did. So we made 313 EMS details and 234 fire details just in January.
Wow.
So year over year, that is a 30% increase in and of itself. We'll see what the rest of the year looks like. Hopefully we don't keep breaking those records, but it was in fact a very, very busy January. So, picture says 1,000 words, and I had to find a final picture for the conclusion of my annual report to council. So, just to set the background, I just said January was our busiest month ever, and not only the busiest month, but during the coldest part of the month, bay heat went out at Station 86. And like everybody else, we were waiting on parts for repair, and we had to put a propane heater in the bay just to keep it to 50 degrees, which gets pretty uncomfortable coming back and having to decon an ambulance at 50 degrees and wash the equipment, check the equipment, and nobody ever complained. As a matter of fact, their solution was somebody brought in marshmallows and graham crackers and Hershey bars, and they made s'mores. And it made me think about a video that Jim Lucas sent out to the department heads many months ago about do you got to go to work or do you get to go to work? And I think this speaks to the fact that these folks really, they get to go to work. They don't got to go to work. So, and in fact, they did leave me a marshmallow and a graham cracker and a Hershey bar for when I showed up the next morning for breakfast. My wife is here, so I'm not going to tell you if I ate that for breakfast or not. So that concludes my annual report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Nobody? Mr. Tankersley?
Chief, I want to commend all the men and women back here in the back. They do a fine job every day, and under your leadership now, it sounds like you guys are doing a very good job. I want to bring up a situation. I talked to Lieutenant Castile, reference an incident that occurred at a neighbor's house of mine. The gentleman did pass away. They worked very hard on him. But his wife told me to let them know that they did a fantastic job and they appreciated everything that they did. So I just want to pass that on.
Thank you very much.
Mayor?
No, they do a great job, and Dan, we're glad to have you in leadership.
Yes.
Who you have. So thank you for it.
Thank
Especially thank you for sharing us the human stories behind the department. I think that means a lot, and I know there's many, many more to share, and we look forward to hearing many, many more of them in the days and years to come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making this a.
Oh, Mrs.
sorry,
Knight?
Sue.
I just want to thank the firemen that come to our senior meeting every Monday. They come in and you may only get 2 or 3 customers, but there are more and more coming up to get their blood pressure taken, and I really appreciate that. And they do too. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you guys very much. We do appreciate you. Chili's coming.
Well, thank you for making this fire department night at council.
They're all in the back going, yes.
We appreciate it.
And feel free to take the snacks back for the chief's office or
That's where
whomever.
we're going.
It could go to Station 88. It could go to 87.
The chief's office is at 86.
Yeah, is that where it is? Really? And I may have to work around the Boy Scout outing that I'm due to go on for your, can I take the heat? Okay. What, she's walking out without it. They did not take me seriously. It's all right, it can go to rec. Huh? No, I meant tomorrow. There'll be more. Okay, Mayor. Is that the end
I
of
think
your
that takes
report?
care of my report.
Good job. Great report. We'll move on to Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
There are 2 pieces of legislation for your consideration this evening. The first one is the Ordinance 2022-10, which was the subject of the public hearing this evening. The second one deals with a variety of issues, 2022-15E, and Scott and Michael will probably tag team on that one.
Yeah, good evening. We got a few things going on Ordinance 2215E. The 401-320 amount is additional funds to meet what we're expecting on the cost to replace the boiler, and also provide a contingency on that project. The 401-610, this is to sort of reappropriate some dollars that were refunded back to us from overpayment on an invoice late in 2021. This got refunded to us right away. We failed to get that put back on the purchase order. The 100-410, this is to flip some dollars from personnel to non-personnel. Our chief building official spot has still not been filled with staff, and this is currently kind of contracted out with NIC. Also on the ordinance is to purchase the boiler for the community center through the cooperative purchase program. Michael's here for any questions on the boiler itself.
Did anyone have questions? No? I think you're good. Thank you.
And Michael, you wanted to speak briefly
Yeah.
on the Resolution 22R4. It's a first reading, but Michael wanted to say a few words about the grant request.
Yeah, so you guys are going to hear 3 readings of this one. This is for the Recreation Department to apply for an ODNR grant. Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works grant is due June 1st. So this allows us to get that grant application dialed in and submitted. We've never been fortunate to actually receive this grant, so we're hopeful. It is a 75% reimbursement grant. The goal is that we will be applying for dollars over at Gorman as Gorman continues to progress. You guys last 2 weeks ago approved us to get moving with demolition. After demolition comes construction, so that will be what we will be applying for, is something in the construction range for Gorman Park. But yeah, tonight's the first reading, and if you need me back, I'll be back. Anything about the boiler? You guys had already approved the boiler for 2022, so it's just a small increase.
I do have.
Go
Do you
ahead.
see any, because of COVID and delays and everything like that, do you have a good firm estimate when it would actually get installed?
So we know that the boilers used for heating the building, we will not need them installed. Right now we're limping along. So boiler season is hopefully coming to a conclusion here soon. We probably won't need them until October of next year. We have been told there will be likely a 6-month lead time, which is part of the reason for the emergency, because we want to get that agreement signed and we want to get those ordered so we can get them here.
Yep. Anybody else? Perfect. Thank you very much. Mr. McKeon.
Yeah, I had one quick addition I meant to mention. At each of your seats this evening was kind of an annual letter checklist from Plattenberg Associates. This is the related party questionnaire, fraud questionnaire. There's 5 or 6 questions there to list any transactions. If anybody has any questions on those, don't hesitate at all to reach out. Stop by or give me a call. There's instructions there. You can return that by mail. This is probably the first year they didn't send an envelope with it. Also, feel free.
All giving them to Jim.
That's fine too. Yeah. So we can collect those and get those scanned in. If anybody doesn't get those done completed tonight, I can email you one as well. So.
Perfect.
Thanks
Thank you.
That's all for the legislation this evening.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Lucas this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to President and Council report. I just want to wish Ms. Knight and Mr. Tankersley a happy birthday for both of you. And one of our former employees is probably watching us in South Carolina, and it was her birthday on on February 14th. So happy birthday to her too. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for their gift cards and things like that. Don't forget, March 12th is the Princeton Gala. If you're planning on attending, get your tickets in, and I'm sure it will be a good time. It usually is. I unfortunately am not able to make it, but I will get our basket turned into them probably by next week. Are there any questions for me? Seeing none, we'll move on to our Clerk of Council, Mrs. Buhite.
No report.
Our Auditor, Mr. Cunningham.
I don't have a report tonight, as numbers are still being reconciled, so we'll be back on track next month.
Okay, great, thank you. Treasurer's report, Mr. Irie?
Again, no report. We'll be back on track next month. I think Mr. McKeon told us that we had a very strong January, and I think tax collections set a record for this past January. So
That's what we heard. Thank you. Our Law Director, Mr. Lippert?
No report. Thank you.
Okay, we've already had our Fire Chief give his report, so now is an opportunity. Any residents that wish to be heard this evening before council can come up, give us your name, and you can speak.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Glenda A. Smith, and this has been a wonderful evening. I don't know if you saw it, but one of the parents was crying as she was taking a photograph with her son being honored tonight. And I thought, you know, we can't not give up on our kids, you know, because for most children, a night like this will come somewhere if we don't. And so, again, my name is Glenda A. Smith, and I'm running for Hamilton County Juvenile Court Judge. And I'm running because Hamilton County is 30 years behind the rest of the country and 12 years behind the rest of Ohio in juvenile justice reforms that are more humane, efficient, and effective while keeping the community safe. I've seen the impact of these reforms in Montgomery County, Franklin County, Summit, and other counties, and I would like to see it here. But I can't do it by myself. We can do it together, though. So go to glendaforjudge.com and find out how we can do it together. I have 20-plus years of experience representing low to moderate income people in juvenile court, other state courts, in federal courts, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. I'm a civil rights attorney. I did not get that privilege by myself. I had the support of my family, the support of my church family, the support of teachers, professors, and others like you who have allowed me to be in that profession and fight for other people. I understand the challenges people have and know how to overcome them. I was raised by a single parent in public housing. I was a teen mother, but because of my work ethic, my faith, and charity, I have a bachelor's in criminal justice, master's in public affairs, and doctorates in jurisprudence. I have 4 children. My oldest child has a master's in social work. My son is a journeyman electrician and member of IBEW Local 648. My 3rd child graduated from Wellesley College in 2020, and my 4th child is in her 2nd year at Howard University. So if you want a judge that knows children, families, and obstacles, then go to glendaforjudge.com and let's win this race.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anyone else want to speak this evening? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to our council committees. Community Development, Mr. Wilson.
I just have want to mention that on February the 9th, that the Planning Commission approved the plan to expand the Sharonville Convention Center, which is exciting. I know that's been in the works for a while, and looks like that we're trying to break ground in this spring sometime, and hopefully finish that up summer of 2023. So exciting news for there. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Services, Mr. Lovett.
Thank you. This past week, we had a special meeting about what the festivities may be at the 4th of July.
Really great meeting, a lot of input, a lot of just wonderful ideas, and just the department heads were very integral in that. So great meeting all around. Because we had a special meeting last week, we aren't going to have a first week of March meeting, so we're going to wait till first Wednesday of April. That's April 6th. We're going to get back on our first Wednesday of the month schedule after that, but it was important to make sure that we got on the front side of what's going on with the community on 4th of July. So,
Perfect.
but that's all I got.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions regarding that? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our budget and finance. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. No report for budget and finance, and then for project oversight, no report, but I would like to state that our next meeting will be March 8th at 6 p.m. in the administrative conference room. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And honored citizens, Mrs. Knight.
Yes, tonight I am going to honor one of our small businesses, Jeannie and Greg Pugh, owners of Lieutenant Fringe Hair Salon. I can never say that.
Lunatic.
Look at, got it. Thank you. They started in 1971 on Main Street and moved to Reading Road in 1973 as Jeannie's Hair Fair. I can say that.
Yeah.
In 1989, the salon was renamed Hair Spectrum. In April 2013, it was rebranded to Lunatic Fringe Salon. In 2019, they increased their size, going upstairs and doubling the size of their styling salon to 7 chairs, from 7 chairs to 16 chairs. Their team grew from 5 stylists to 22 this year. And just recently, they received an award for being one of the top 100 partner salons in the United States from Caritas Paris, and that is out of 2,600 salons. So I just want to say congratulations to Jeannie and Greg.
Perfect.
And their associates.
Thank you. Law and Public Safety, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you. The next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be on March 1st, 4 p.m. Administrative Conference Room. Just a reminder, there are 5 Tuesdays in March, so we have that coming up. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Rule suspension motion. Is there a motion for first and only reading with immediate effectivity for ordinance 2022-15E? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no, and that does carry. We'll move on to unfinished business, please.
Say, third reading of ordinance 2022-10, rezoning property located along the north side of E-Business Way, a portion of auditor parcel number 608-003-0055, from general business to public facilities.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-10? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2022-10 has been approved. It's a second reading of resolution 2022-R03, honoring Chief Stephen R. Vanover by dedicating the Sharonville Police Department in his honor. And that is unfinished business.
And welcome to the neighborhood again, gentlemen. We look forward to seeing your beautiful church up there. And we'll move on to our new business.
Okay. First and only reading of ordinance 2022-15E, amending 2022 appropriations for various funds and authorizing a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director, Nature Work, Department of Natural Resources.
Time for good. We're good. Ms. Knight.
11 o'clock. They can't. Can have report. Out window on the other side, so it would be, Eric's mind's working 24/7, so.
All right.
Anyway, I hope to see everybody there, because I'll be there.
Sounds good. All right.
Are you buying the first round for everybody? Okay.
We thought you were, Tank. All right. Is there any other business? Seeing none, is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Tankersley. All those in favor, yes? Yes. Those opposed, no, and we do stand adjourned. Thank you. Grab some cookies.